So how I've gone from zero to a multi-million pound construction business, and then that went bust. And I want to now tell you how I then managed to create multiple seven-figure businesses since then. But really, this story that I want to tell you now, I'm telling you it because I want to see if it resonates with you, because I really have been there and I've done it, and I know the pain you often experience as you're trying to grow a construction business. It's not an easy thing to do, and because I've been there and I've done it and I've made the mistakes, I want to help you avoid making those same mistakes too. So this video really is just giving you a little bit about my story, and I think you're going to be able to learn a few things as I go through it. So where do I start? Well, I guess it all started when I decided to work for myself back in the early 20s. I was just a trade apprentice doing carpentry, but I really wanted to build loft conversions. That was the aim I had. The reason I wanted to do that is because a good friend of my dad's had a highly successful loft conversion business, and he was making a lot of money in London doing that. So I wanted to do the same. So the first big decision that I made in business was I decided to get a business partner. Now, maybe you've decided to do that. The business partner I got was a roofer and I was a carpenter, so it seemed like the perfect match, and we were going to go and do these loft conversions together. And at the time, it was the right decision to make because I lacked the knowledge to be able to do loft conversions on my own. I was only in my early 20s. This guy was a little bit older and had a bit more experience than me, so it was a good match. And if I was going to give you the first bit of advice, when you go into a partnership, make sure that your partner is bringing something to the table that you don't have. That's absolutely key, because if they have something that you don't have, then they're offering some value and can do something good as a partnership. So we became partners, we scaled the business up. I think in our first few years, we managed to get the business to around about 650, 700,000 pounds turnover a year, and we were doing loft after loft and doing a great job with that and growing the business quite successfully. I was earning some really good money. But the problem is I was on the tools full time, he was on the tools full time, and we realized that we'd started capping out at this 650, 700,000 level, and we actually stayed there year after year. We weren't really growing as a business, and we started to get a little bit frustrated with it because we were putting in all the hard work. We were working really hard all day, every day, and then at night we were doing all the estimates and quoting and things like that, and on the weekends, and we weren't really growing, so it was getting really frustrating. So the second pivotal decision that I then made in my business was I got a business advisor to come in. And this lady came in, looked at how we were currently running things, and I don't really remember a lot of what she told me, but the one thing she said that completely transformed the trajectory of our business was she said, one of you has to come off the tools. You've got to stop working in the business and you need to start working on the business. So that was a real light bulb moment that went off. It seems so obvious now, but at the time we were young and we didn't know these things. So that's what we did. One of us came off the tools. And this is a real good bit of advice. If you're currently on the tools and you're looking to get off of the tools, especially if you're in a partnership, don't both come off of the tools at the same time. Let just one of you come off the tools, work on the business, while the other one stays on the tools, and gradually transition out of that. And we see this time and time again with clients we work with, where they're stuck on the tools and they really do cap themselves at a certain level and they can't push past it. So you must know, and learn from my experience too, that if you want to break through the £1 million barrier, or $1 million barrier, you have to get off the tools. There's just no two ways about it. So that was the decision we made. I came off the tools, my business partner stayed on the tools, and we really started growing that company. We smashed through £1 million and the business started getting bigger and bigger, and it was absolutely fantastic. But then there was another pivotal decision that came. I realized that I wanted to grow the business much bigger than where it was currently at, but my business partner didn't want to grow anymore. He was happy with where it was. So had a really difficult decision to make, because he was also my best friend, where we had to split the business up. I was going to go in one direction and he was going to go in another. This was a really tough decision to make because we've been together for many years and he was a friend, and it felt like I betrayed him a little bit and let him down. But I had young kids, I had a family, and I had a mortgage to pay. I needed to start earning some more money, so I needed to grow this business to another level and wanted to take it beyond where it currently was. So we had a decision to make on how we were going to split this, and I gave him the option. He could either buy me out, I could buy him out, or we could just dissolve the company and just go our separate ways and create two separate new companies. So he made the decision that he wanted me to buy him out, so I had to pay him off. So that was a big decision for me. I had to get a loan out to do that, a business loan, and I had to pay him a decent sum to get him out of the business. And that was really good. That was a big decision for me, but it was a great decision because it now meant I was in complete control of my own destiny. I could now do what I wanted to do. I didn't have to ask anyone else for permission. So I was really quite excited about that. But at the same time, I'd saddled myself with a load of debt that I now had to pay off. Now, I'd done the projections for it. I was comfortable that the business was going to be able to pay this business loan going forward, but nevertheless, it was a risk. So I decided day one, I was on my own, that I was going to scale this business. I was actually going to double it in size, and I got to work, and I really did work. I was up super early every morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock starting work, and I was working right through to 5, 6 p.m. every day, and it was pretty tough. I was doing that on my own, but I really felt like I had to prove something to myself and to others that actually I could run this business on my own and make a real success of it. So that's what I did. Worked really hard. We scaled that business and we did manage to double it in its first year, which was awesome, but I was experiencing burnout. I'd never worked so hard. I wasn't on the tools anymore, but I'd never worked so hard estimating, pricing, firefighting on site, dealing with all the subbies and contractors. And I had family life to deal with too, 2 young children. So it was really tough trying to grow that business and manage the more important things, which was family. So I had another decision to make. Did I continue growing? Did I do something different? And I decided that I did need to do something different. I needed to bring someone in that was going to help me catapult the business to the next level. So my next big decision and pivotal thing that happened was I decided to bring on a sales director to the company. Now, he was known for bringing on big projects, so he come on board and his sole aim was to double this business yet again. We were going to really go for it into the multi-millions, and he did that without a doubt. He come on board. One of the first jobs that he won was worth over £1 million, which was just incredible for us because at the time we were winning, jobs somewhere between 50 and maybe £150,000, and he just brought a job on that was a completely different league. Now, this was unbelievable once we managed to do this, because now we were in a different level. Now I could bring on a project manager that was just going to look after that one job. We knew what we were forecasting to do for the remainder of the year, so I knew what I could spend on marketing and more team members. And all of a sudden we had offices, we had 10 to 12 people in the office, we had staff of 40 to 50 out on site, and we were bringing on job after job, and the business grew absolutely rapidly. It was incredible. I was earning a fortune, bought myself a nice Range Rover car. I was loving it. But most importantly, I was also being able to not do as much in the business because I had other people helping me. I had a sales director, I brought on an operations director, and it seemed like it was going quite well. But this is where the cracks started to appear in the business, and I didn't realize that things were actually starting to go wrong. So because we were winning so much work and we were growing so fast, I wasn't actually able to cope with that growth. And we ended up hiring people, and the wrong people were being brought on board, and it was starting to become an absolute disaster. Just to give you a quick example, one guy we brought on board, a project manager, he came on board and I thought he was a little bit eccentric as a person, but I realized that there's a fine margin between eccentric and a lunatic, and unfortunately he was an absolute lunatic. And he came on, and the first thing he did is he took on a job that was about £500,000. He was a project manager for that project, and he then coached the customer on how to get out of that contract so that he could take over the project himself. So he basically stole a £500,000 contract off of us. Ended up in a huge legal dispute with the client because they were signed into contract of us. We ended up having a legal battle with him, and it was just an absolute nightmare, not what we needed, and left our reputation in tatters with that client. So that was absolutely awful. That started causing other problems in the business too. So now we had to bring on more project managers to replace him and cope with the rest of the work that we were bringing on board. And what started to happen is we weren't vetting the people that were coming on effectively, and we were just bringing on people to fill a seat on the bus. They were the wrong people that were being brought on board to the business. It started becoming an absolute disaster. So as we were scaling, as the wrong people were being brought on board, the company culture started to change. Our customers started to be upset with us more because we weren't delivering the high quality of work, and our project managers weren't able to deliver that high quality of work. The tradesmen we were bringing on board weren't very good and were taking us for a bit of a ride. And one by one, things started to unravel. Our reputation was getting poor. We weren't winning as many sales. And then there was a slight downturn in the economy. And all of a sudden, I had this machine, this beast of a company that I was trying to feed work, and it started crumbling before me. At one point we had to bring on, I think it was about £400,000 worth of work every single month just to break even and to keep on track with our targets. We were doing that every single month, bringing on £400,000 worth of work. But then one month we didn't bring on anything. The second month we didn't bring on anything. Third month we didn't sell anything. And all of a sudden I can see the writing on the wall. We've got all these overheads going out. We were churning through our work. There was a problem with our sales guys. They weren't delivering. The economy was starting to turn. We had customers turning against us because our reputation was starting to fail as a business, and the business started to collapse around me. And it was absolutely awful and a really, really stressful time. The worst part about it was we then went to go and see a insolvency practitioner, and he looked at our books, he looked at the forecast of what we had on, and he basically said to me, Greg, I can tell you now that your business is insolvent and you need to close this business. You're not going to be able to work your way out of this. That combined with the fact, just to go back a step, that I had a couple of customers not pay me that owed me hundreds of thousands of pounds. We had a few of them not pay at the same time. A couple of those reasons was due to poor work that we delivered, so there was a little bit of our fault, but there was other things that weren't our fault. We had a customer die on us who owed us 6 figures, and that was really, really painful too, and we couldn't get the money out of the spouse, so that was terrible. So all these things transpired against us. We became insolvent as a business, and the ultimate story is we had to liquidate. So I'd gone from a business owner who started with nothing, created a really large loft conversion and extension company in London that was doing multi-million pounds of revenue and turnover, and all of a sudden we gone bust. We were back to zero. It was absolutely awful and the most stressful thing I've ever faced in my life. And maybe you can resonate with that. Maybe you've had similar problems in your construction business and you faced that yourself. It's not nice, and it's very painful to deal with, and something I certainly wouldn't want to experience again or wish on anyone. And it's not an easy way out, going bust as a company, without a doubt. It's stressful and it's painful, and the ramifications of it are actually quite long term. So to cut a long story short, that business went bust, and I had a decision to make then. I thought, what do I do now? Do I just quit, get out of this industry? I hate it now. What do I do? And it was really a difficult decision because I still had bills to pay. I had wife, kids, mortgage. How do I provide for everybody? What do I do? I'm not enjoying what I'm currently doing, but I didn't know what else to do. I was trained as an apprentice. I didn't have any other qualifications. So I thought, what do I do? And I also had this desire inside that I actually really wanted to prove to people that I could make a success of business. I felt like I'd failed with that business going bust, and I wanted to prove that I could do it again. So I went back to the drawing board and I consumed book after book, business development book, on how to grow successful companies. And I was going to ensure that this time it was done the right way. So I started again. I knew that all the good things that we were doing in the old business I brought in, and all the bad things that were going wrong we made sure that I was going to work on, and I started to gradually grow that business again. In the first 12 months of that business, we managed to turn over £1.5 million, which was awesome in its first year from a zero start. But more importantly than that, I was now creating a business that gave me time, freedom, and money. I'd never earned so much money as what I had in that first year. I had more time for myself, and I was actually working on the things that I really enjoyed. I'd got my passion again back for doing this business. So that was fantastic, and that business grew really nicely. And what I decided to do this time, because I'd now managed to work out how to do it the right way, I thought I'd document my process of what I was doing and what was going really well and the things I'd learned that had went wrong. And from that, I ended up writing a book, and that book was called Building Your Future: How to Grow a Successful £1 Million Plus Construction Business. Put that book out there to the world, and that became an Amazon #1 bestseller, and I was getting great feedback from it. And then I realized that I'd actually hit upon a really good niche here. This is a real need in the construction industry, that people are great at their trade and they're great at building things and delivering workmanship, but a lot of people aren't trained in the business side. How do you actually run a successful business, or how do you transition from a tradesman to a director or a manager of your company? So I wrote that book with those people in mind. It really hit the spot and resonated with many, and many have been able to grow successful businesses just off the back of that book, which was awesome. From there, I then decided to get into coaching, but I was also in my other business doing property developing. So the property developing started going really well. I was earning really good money. So the money I was earning out of my construction business, I put into property, and we started buying land and building houses, and that was awesome, and something I highly encourage people to do if you want to build your own wealth and intergenerational wealth for yourself. And so while I was doing the property developing, I also decided to do coaching and started building up the coaching business and training people on all the methods that I'd done to create a successful business. And I realized that this was working. It wasn't just working for me, but it was working for my clients too. And that was just incredible. So I used to just have a few one-on-one clients, and they were having great results. And I thought, this is fantastic. This is something that can really go somewhere. So since then, we've really expanded the coaching side of the business. I've brought on other coaches, other specialists. I've got QS coaches, accountant coaches, all the professionals that you need to be able to grow a successful business the right way. So just wanted to tell you a little bit about that story, because my life's completely changed now. I live over in Sydney, Australia, got clients in the UK and Australia, and it's going really well and continuing to grow. I've got time, freedom and money, and a great lifestyle that I'm really enjoying now. But it all started really from learning from the mistakes I made and really knuckling down and making changes the right way. And when I did it the right way, I was actually able to grow a business that I actually enjoyed and found a passion for. And I really want that to be the same for you too. So if you're listening to this video, watching this video, and it's resonating with you in some way, and you'd like to grow your business from somewhere between £1 and £5 million, or $1 and $10 million if you're in Australia, then we'd really like to talk to you, because we know exactly how to help you. We know the mistakes that are often found and the difficulties that it takes to grow a business. We know all those pain points because I've been there and I've done it, and I know how to navigate that, and we're having great success and results in helping our clients. So I'd love to talk to you too.